Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. For you, I want to ask, you film a lot of stuff in New York. How is it for you when you get to film something that is on the street as often as this movie ended up being?
I've honestly filmed a lot of stuff on the streets of New York, but we usually had permits. So this, I mean, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but we might have stolen a few shots here and there, but we mostly had permits. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough. This was a really, really hard movie to make. Um, you're dealing with uh, New York in general, and like I said, we were, trying to get a lot of shots, even if we had a permit, on like one block, and then you'd have all these people, especially wearing masks, where, this is not supposed to be taking place in any kind of COVID world or anything like that. So that was a challenge, but also it takes place on the hottest day of the year, and the weather didn't always cooperate. I mean, it was always hot, but sometimes there was rain, and it had to be like really sunny. But also it was a first time filmmaker, Simon Hacker, who was, I mean, he was great. He was really great. But, he's a full first time filmmaker. And so you don't know what you're getting yourself into with that. You hope for the best. And luckily, he was very collaborative. He had a vision. I mean, I definitely think he got more confident as we went along, as we progressed. And I guess he made a decision to make a movie, his first movie, about a day in the life of this character. And again, it all has to take place on the hottest day. And you have a little kid, and little kids are they have. I mean, Casey Bella Suarez, who's phenomenal. She was, I mean, she couldn't have been more wonderful to work with. She wasn't like one of those typical bratty stage kids. She didn't have stage parents. That she completely normal family. She's a normal girl, and so we lucked out. But yeah, but I was gonna say when you're working with a little kid, they have their hours, they have tutoring, they need breaks. But she was a champ, and she was always down to do whatever, and she's a great actress. And I just saw the movie for the first time literally this week, and because I was waiting, we shot it on 35 millimeter, which was another problem. Not a problem, but
A challenge.
I had, yes, it was a challenge. It was certainly was a challenge. A first time filmmaker, 35 millimeter, dealing with kids. They tell you never work with kids or pets or whatever. Luckily, there were no pets. Actually, there was a dog in the movie. Um,
And the
but
rats of New York.
what's that?
And the rats of New York.
Oh,
Just
sure, sure. Yeah, there was that shot of the mouse, which was funny. I mean, that was a happy accident. I don't know how happy, but yeah, it was an accident. But yeah, so I mean, it all came together, and so I saw it for the first time this week, and I couldn't have been more pleased. Really, like I didn't know what to expect. I knew that we made something great, we made something special, and it was like blood, sweat, and tears. But it all came together, and it looks gorgeous.
hmm I 100% agree. I think it's very, very pretty. And I also like New York movies that actually feel like New York movies. 'Cause I think a lot of
Mhm.
the times people are like, here's New York, and you're looking at Hell's Kitchen. I'm like, it's 2 blocks of the city. No one is actually
I
ever
mean,
really over there.
sometimes you see a movie, they're like, here's New York, and it's Toronto. So
That too. So like not
yeah,
the city at all. But
no, but this was New York. We filmed everywhere in New York, and also like it was such a low budget film. I didn't have transportation or anything. I would get on the subway early in the morning and go to the Bronx, or go to Bed-Stuy. Like I mean, it literally was that. It was like, today you're going uptown, tomorrow you're going downtown, and Thursday you're going to Roosevelt Island. Like it was insane. It really was. It was, I don't know what I signed up for, but like I said, luckily it all turned out for the best.
well, yeah, and I like what you said about like I know you were like, I'm not getting anyone in trouble, but sometimes we didn't have permits. One of my favorite scenes in a movie is they just ran on the train and filmed it because they were like, we need this shot and we don't really have the time to figure it out. So they literally walked with a camera and filmed it on a train and then just got off. So I do love
Yeah.
that those are such New York moments where you're like, we have to kind of get this and it's New York and you have to do it whenever New York says it's okay. Does
Yes.
that for you as an actor, is it exciting to like have that energy? in a city where you're like, we just gotta kind of do whatever the city tells us we can do at that moment.
Well, especially on this movie, I think it really fueled us, you know. Like I said, we were a low budget production, but we had an amazing camera.
Mhm.
And you know, sometimes like for example, the the subway scenes maybe I think there might have been multiple scenes, but
Mhm.
you know, we didn't have a permit for that. I don't I really don't want to get anyone in trouble, but we you know, we
You can't
didn't. And
really with the
also,
MTA. You have to kind
yeah,
of just
I know,
pray.
and we're not the only ones who've stolen shots on the subway, please. But you know, there would be, I don't know, a homeless person sitting there, and we're like, "Hi, sir, can you like move?" And then there was an altercation, and you know, I have a little girl, and I have to protect her, and also it was like right after COVID, right after the pandemic, so like subways weren't exactly safe to be on, you know. Everybody's wearing masks, and like I said, and we had to like I guess digitally remove them from people in post production. Um, but uh but yeah, it does. I mean, it definitely contributed to that energy that you feel. And I've said this before that I really, and this was part of the selling point for me. I really felt like this was going to be a movie where you look back, you know, 20, 30 years from now, and you watch it and you're like, oh, that's what that looked like back then. And that, you know, kind of like those 70s movies like Dog Day Afternoon or Midnight Cowboy or something. Not,
Mhm.
you know, not that I'm comparing it to those
Yeah,
movies,
no, no,
but like,
I understand.
it's that feel, it's that vibe.
Yeah, and I love the dialogue in this movie because I think a lot of the times, especially when it's a father and a daughter, the dialogue tends to be like nicer and sweeter, but it's like as the daughter of a or the daughter of a father, like you talk to your dad very differently than I think movies kind of sell those relationships. And when you do have a child and like you guys are saying, like he's just does not care and he's swearing at her and he's saying whatever he kind of thinks in that moment. How do you kind of navigate that with this actual small child that you have to do these things with?
You know, luckily Bella was up for the task. Actually, we call her Bella, but her name's Casey Bella Suarez.
Okay.
But I mean, everybody calls her Bella. But you know, she was a pro. And not even a pro. I mean, because she hadn't done like anything before. You know, she'd done mostly commercials, but she is a pro. She's so good. And like I said, she was up for anything. And yeah, I mean, like I don't personally have any kids, but I have nieces and nephews, and I obviously don't talk to them the way that I talk to Anna in this movie. But but yeah, I mean, like she was just such a joy to work with, and she like I said, she's not a stage kid, but he's just a, I mean, he's a bad dad, you know, he's not a good guy at the beginning,
Mhm.
obviously, you know, but over the course of the movie, I think he kind of realizes what's most important in life, and that's his daughter and his you know, family in general. And yeah, so I don't know, I just I think she's gonna be like very big. She's I mean, she's so talented, and her face is so gorgeous on screen, and her eyes tell everything. And yeah, so I just loved working with her.
Yeah, I agree. But I also I want to ask because I do think again, not to go back to the New York thing, but it is just very New York when you live here. It feels like a perfect movie for this city. There are moments in this city where you're like, yeah, this is like a nice person helping me out and it makes my day better. And there's a moment in this movie where that happens towards the very end. And I loved it because I was like, this is great. This is the New York I know where that guy's like, fine, dude, go ahead for you and you're making a movie like this.
Wait,
Is
which part was
I'm
that?
talking about the zoo part. I love that that guy is
Oh,
like,
oh, oh.
sure, man. Like, cause like you know that guy was like, I just want to go home, but he was
Yeah,
like, help this dude out,
but
and
he
I,
didn't help us out. He
yeah, but it's like the bridge between New Yorker and like
okay.
I love that because it feels real.
Yeah.
Um, do when you're in movies like this and you have those like kind of like a New Yorker's gonna love it. Is there a part of this movie that you were like, yeah, this feels the most like New York I've ever had to experience as somebody who lives there?
Um, well, I'm thinking. I mean, it was like I said, it was this was an adventure. I mean, it was, you know, you bring up like that guy, like, yeah, I'll help you out, but like we didn't have help from anyone. We got shut down so many times by like the cops. I mean, there was one time where we were shooting the first time we shot that scene with that guy at the zoo. The first time we shot that, which we had to we got shut down because
Mhm.
this woman, we actually shot at that actually was the zoo. That was the Central Park Zoo. But the first time we shot that scene, we couldn't get the zoo. So we shot like uptown on the Upper East Side, and it was like a big gate, and it could have passed for
Mm.
something like a zoo. And this woman, we were shooting outside the gate, and this woman, we'd been shooting for a while. This woman comes up and she's like, no, 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 like this is my section of the park. And we were like, what? We actually had a permit, and we showed her the permit. She's like, nope. And I guess she was like the caretaker of this garden that was behind the fence or behind the gate. And so yeah, she called the police. They came and they shut us down. And we were like, okay, we didn't get it. And again, it was like, it was all meant to be because we were actually able to, go downtown to the actual zoo and film it there. But yeah, I mean, you know, it was mostly like you mentioned like people, throwing us a bone, and that was really, I mean, this whole process. There were so many favors that people did, mostly for Simon, our director, who, because he's been hustling for a bit and he's helped other people, and so it was time to repay the favor and favors. And so we had help in post production. We had help. Kodak gave us all this film. I mean, that's really why this movie, we were able to make it on 35, because uh, they donated so much of the film.
Mhm.
And our sound. I mean, he did the sound mixing at Lucasfilm at Skywalker Ranch. Yeah, because we had a connection to somebody there. So yeah, I mean, we really got hooked up in many ways.
Right. Well, I love that this is sound mixed at Lucasville.
Yeah, not too shabby.
For my last question, I do want to ask one question about my new favorite Dead Italian, because I do think it is funny that you were in. I've seen the whole season of The Penguin, but I do think it is so funny that you're in that show. I was like so like, yeah, Michael Zegen's in this show, and then within 2 seasons, you're just dead.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Um, Look, it's Batman. It's Gotham City. I'm a huge Batman fan. I grew up reading the comic books. I got a chance to work with Colin Farrell in a really cool scene. It's not just like one scene, it's like a really cool scene. It opened the show, and it's the catalyst for the entire season.
Mhm.
And that's how they pitched it to me, and I was like, let's do it. I wanted, to work with Colin Farrell in the Penguin getup. It was so cool. It was so cool. And I do come back. I have some flashbacks.
There's some
Uh,
good stuff with Alberto later.
yeah, yeah. No, there was some, I got to do a scene at Arkham Asylum. Being a
Mhm.
Batman comic book fan, that was really surreal. But no, I mean, I got to play in that world, which was something that's on my bucket list. I've always wanted to be specifically a Batman villain. And Alberto Falcone's in the comic books, and he
Mhm.
is a Batman villain. Uh, I don't know if he lasts too long. Somebody told me that I told my doorman, because he was a comic book guy, and I told him when I got the part, I told him about it. He's like, "Oh man, he's the holiday killer. He's blank blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, this is different." My guy dies in the first scene, but no, it was so much fun, and Colin couldn't have been like, I don't know, just nicer. I mean, he really was. He wasn't in character the whole time. He wasn't method. When they yelled cut, we would go in a corner and run our lines, and he had the Irish accent and everything. So it was so cool. It really was a really cool experience.
Now I want to see though that behind the scenes footage where he's still dressed as Oz, just like with an Irish
Yeah,
accent.
I know. I mean, maybe it was, I don't know. Like I said, it was the first, that was actually the first scene that we filmed for the entire show. So I was super nervous. He was super nervous. Maybe like as they progressed, maybe he was method. Maybe he didn't lose the accent. So I don't know. Like, but with me, he was Colin, just in a really weird fat suit.
I love it. I loved this movie, and thank you so much for talking with me today. I really
Of
appreciate it.
course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks. You
Thank
too.
you.